Hi everyone, we're Mimicker, here to introduce all kinds of knowledge, even the stuff we didn't know about. So today we are doing a deep dive into something that is, it's fundamentally changing human chemistry, the global economy, and even how we think about willpower.
We're talking about GLP-1 receptor agonists.
Exactly. The drugs you probably know as Ozempic or Wegovy, Mounjaro.
But we really need to get past the celebrity headlines, the simple weight loss story.
Yeah.
Because what the data in our sources is showing is a huge structural transformation. And it's not being triggered by AI or algorithms.
It's being triggered by a sleek little injection pen.
Right. Some researchers are even calling it the metabolic singularity. It's this point where a medical treatment just so rapidly changes human behavior that it starts to warp market dynamics on a massive scale.
It's a socioeconomic earthquake, truly. So our mission for you today is to unpack these macro ripples, the waves this thing is sending across the food industry, fashion, even aviation and mental health.
And we're going to walk you through exactly how a hormone first found in a desert lizard became this global juggernaut.
But a juggernaut that's forcing entire industries, industries built on us consuming more, to face a genuine existential crisis.
Yeah, get ready for some wild connections between biochemistry and macroeconomics.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, because honestly, this might be the most surprising part of the whole story. It started with the Gila monster.
It really did. To get the science, you have to go back to the early 1990s. There was this researcher, Dr. John Eng,
Okay.
and he was studying the Heloderma suspectum, the Gila monster. This lizard, it's an absolute metabolic marvel. It survives on just a few massive meals a year.
A few meals a year.
That's it. And because of that, it needs to be able to instantly surge its insulin production right after it eats.
So it's developed this super efficient metabolic tool. But how does that help humans?
Well, Eng isolated a compound from the lizard's saliva called exendin-4, and this was the crucial difference maker. You see, our own human GLP-1 hormone is great, but it's degraded almost instantly.
How is it?
In about 2 minutes. An enzyme called EP.54 just wipes it out. But exendin-4 from the lizard, it resists that breakdown. It stays active for hours.
So that resistance, that durability, that was the key.
That was the absolute key. It's what made a weekly usable medication even possible.
And that chemical durability was the starting gun for the pharmaceutical companies to start engineering, to build a drug with real longevity. So if you're, prepping for a meeting on this refinement journey is vital to understand.
It is. The first versions were based on exenatide, but the real leaps came with the next compounds. So to get liraglutide, which is sold as Victoza or Saxenda, they added a fatty acid chain to the molecule.
A fatty acid chain, what did that do?
It basically let the molecule hitch a ride on albumin, a protein in our blood, and that little trick slowed down how fast the kidneys could filter it out.
Which took the dosing from multiple times a day.
Down to once a day, precisely. Then came semaglutide, your Ozempic, and Wegovy. They made even more sophisticated tweaks that pushed the half-life out to about a week.
And that's the weekly skinny shot era.
Exactly. And now we're already seeing the next evolution, the multi-agonists. Like Eli Lilly's tirzepatide, Mounjaro, and Zepbound, those activate both GLP-1 and GIP receptors. It's just incredible molecular engineering.
So the chemistry made the drug last longer. But the next piece of the puzzle was figuring out what it was really doing to us, to our behavior. Because at first, everyone thought it just slowed digestion and helped with insulin.
Right, the periphery effects.
But you're saying the real shift, the profound one, is happening in the brain.
Absolutely. Feeling full is only half the story. The real biological hack is happening in the hypothalamus, which is your hunger control center, and the mesolimbic dopamine system.
The reward center.
The brain's reward center. And this is why users report this incredibly sudden change. They talk about the disappearance of what they call food noise.
That constant obsessive internal chatter about food. The thoughts about eating even when you're not physically hungry.
That's it. These drugs modulate that dopamine release. They dampen the biological drive for overconsumption. All those high-calorie, super tasty foods designed to give you that dopamine hit, they just lose their pull.
Okay, so that's the aha moment for you listening. It isn't just about having more willpower.
No, it's a fundamental change in the biochemistry of desire itself.
And because we've now linked this to the brain's reward system, that explains what's coming next, doesn't it? People are already throwing around terms like the God molecule.
They're talking about retatrutide. It's a triple agonist. It targets GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon receptors all at once. So it suppresses appetite while also increasing energy expenditure.
So it's like simulating the effects of exercise on a cellular level.
In a way, yes. And it's pushing the projected weight loss numbers toward the 30% threshold. I mean, that's a level of change we used to only see with major bariatric surgery.
So if this drug is silencing that deep-seated drive for overconsumption, that shift in human desire has to have, well, immediate and pretty violent consequences for the industries built on those old desires. So let's shift from the brain to the budget. Let's talk about the caloric recession.
That's the huge economic question, right? What happens when tens of millions of people suddenly slash their daily calories by 20, maybe 30%?
And the global food industry is this trillion-dollar machine built entirely on the idea of maximizing consumption.
Exactly. And your sources show retailers like Walmart are confirming it. People on these drugs are buying way fewer high-calorie snacks, sodas, all of it.
You can see big food is already pivoting. I saw Nestlé is launching something called Vital Pursuit.
Right, a frozen food line specifically for GLP-1 users.
And it's not just about fewer calories. They're focusing on high protein and fiber. They're trying to help people fight the muscle loss that can come with rapid weight loss.
It's happening everywhere. Soda companies are pushing mini cans now.
Because people still want the taste, but they just physically can't finish a big can anymore.
It's a mass consumer shift happening in real time. It's wild.
The ripples go to places I just never would have expected. The aviation dividend genuinely stunned me.
It's this incredible environmental bonus that, the drug makers certainly didn't see coming. Analysts estimate that if every single passenger on a United Airlines flight lost just 10 pounds.
Which is less than the average weight loss for many people on these drugs.
Much less. The airline saves $80 million a year in fuel.
$80 million.
Delta even reported that the reduction of onboard weight was a major factor in them exceeding their sustainability goals. Lighter passengers simply mean less fuel burn. Greener skies.
Meanwhile, back on the ground, the fashion industry is in chaos with what they're calling the Great Size Reshuffle.
Oh, it is an absolute inventory nightmare for them. Their entire model is based on a predictable bell curve of sizes, a lot of mediums, fewer smalls and XLs, and so on.
And that curve is breaking.
It's failing completely. Demand for XXS and small sizes is spiking, but they're stuck with this massive, useless glut of plus-size inventory that they ordered months ago based on the old models.
I read in the sources that they're scrambling using AI and predictive analytics, trying to figure out what the new sizing curve even looks like. And socially, it's pushing back against a decade of the body positivity movement.
It is. It's raising these uncomfortable questions about the return of an ultra-thin ideal. But this time it's driven by a prescription, not just diet culture. The speed of the change is what's so disruptive.
Okay, let's turn to policy. Because at first this was widely criticized as a lifeline for the rich. Right? The price tag was over $1,000 a month without insurance.
And that criticism forced a pretty rapid policy response. Now, reporting impartially here, the sources note the Trump administration used a policy called Most Favored Nation pricing.
And what did that do?
It gave the government leverage to negotiate prices based on what other countries were paying. And it worked. It slashed the monthly cost from over $1,000 down to around $350, even less for Medicare beneficiaries.
That's a huge shift in affordability.
Monumental. A direct result of a policy mechanism.
And now CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they're getting involved, but their model seems a little more complex.
They're introducing what's called the balance model in 2026. So Medicare will cover GLP-1s for weight loss, but, and this is the key, they must be paired with certified lifestyle and nutritional coaching.
Okay, wait, hang on. That sounds good on paper, but doesn't that just create a new barrier? A cost barrier for the people who need it most? I mean, who pays for all that mandated coaching?
That is the exact political debate happening right now. Critics are saying it just adds complexity and cost, making it harder for lower-income people to get the drug. But the proponents argue it ensures better long-term health, recognizing that the drug alone isn't a magic bullet without behavioral support.
So policymakers are really struggling with how to define chronic care in this new era.
They really are.
But beyond policy and weight, doctors are starting to see these drugs as a kind of medical Swiss Army knife for all sorts of chronic diseases.
The cardiovascular benefit is just massive. The SELECT trial confirmed a 20% reduction in major adverse cardiac events, MACE, they call it.
A 20% reduction.
And what's fascinating, truly fascinating, is that this benefit seems to be completely independent of the weight loss itself.
Wait, what? So even if a patient doesn't lose a ton of weight, they still get the heart protection?
That is the data point that changes everything. It's a heart drug that also happens to cause weight loss. And what's more, that brain effect we talked about, silencing the reward system, it's showing incredible promise for addiction.
Like for alcohol use disorder.
Yes. Because those GLP-1 receptors are in the brain's reward centers, are being trialed for AUD, even for opioid cravings. Early data suggests a reduction in overdose rates among GLP-1 users by as much as 40%.
40%. This could become a major tool in fighting the addiction crisis.
A non-narcotic tool, which is huge.
Okay, but we have to touch on the weirder cultural side effects that are popping up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Ozempic face economy.
Right. So you have this rapid systemic fat loss. It's especially noticeable in the face and buttocks, and it creates this deflated look. The skin just doesn't have time to retract.
The Ozempic face and Ozempic butt.
And it is fueling an adjacent boom in the medical aesthetics industry. Massive demand for fillers, thread lifts, skin tightening procedures, all to restore the volume that was lost so quickly.
And the psychological cost is complex, too. I've read people report these incredibly vivid, almost technicolor dreams, but there's more concerning side effect being discussed: anhedonia.
Anhedonia. It's a flattening of joy, the inability to feel pleasure from things you normally enjoy.
So the theory is, if the drug dampens the dopamine reward for food,
it might also dampen the reward for other things, for sex, for hobbies, social life, even the satisfaction from your job. It raises this really crucial question about the emotional price of a pharmacologically managed life. Are we kind of, renegotiating the biological contract of being human?
and those shifts are creating real social ruptures, like the rise of hashtag Ozempic divorce on TikTok.
Yeah, where one partner goes through this radical physical and psychological transformation, and it just completely upends the power dynamic in the relationship.
But then on the flip side, there are also positive shifts. The Ozempic babies trend.
Right. The improved metabolic health, especially for women with conditions like PCOS, is restoring fertility that was suppressed by chronic disease. So you have these incredible stories of hope, too.
So looking ahead, let's look at 2026 and beyond. What's the next technological frontier now that the weekly shot is here?
The focus is now on two things: oral convenience and muscle preservation.
An oral pill. That would be a game changer for access.
A total game changer. A daily pill like orforglipron, it doesn't need cold chain shipping. That solves supply chain problems, it'll dramatically lower prices, and it could make this a standard primary care prescription.
And muscle preservation is to tackle the rebound weight gain problem.
Exactly, because when you lose weight fast, you lose muscle, and that makes it easier to regain the fat. So Amgen's drug, Maritide, it's a monthly injection designed to protect muscle mass while you're burning fat. That's the key to long-term success.
And finally, the whole global scale of this is about to explode because of the patent cliff.
That's right. In 2026, the patents for semaglutide expire in huge markets like China and Canada. You're going to see a flood of generics hit the market.
Which will reshape the whole supply chain and crash the prices.
It will crash the prices and massively expand access outside of the US and Europe. That's when the rest of the world will really feel the force of this metabolic singularity.
This has really been a lever moment in human history. We've talked about how tweaking one single hormone has moved the needle on a trillion-dollar food industry, reshaped air travel, changed insurance policies, and forced us to redefine things like willpower and identity.
It's a biological truth bomb just detonating right in the middle of our economy and our culture.
So that was our deep dive into your sources.
And as we enter what some are calling the post-obesity era, the final thought we have to leave you with is this. Are we really ready for a world where appetite is chemically suppressed? Where health, which was once seen as the result of lifestyle and effort, is now just an opt-in pharmacological state? The experiment has begun. The societal results are still being calculated.
Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification bell.